but I was like, it's hot. So,
Right. You know what? Hold on. I may have
okay.
to start this over again. Hold on.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I think we're good. We're just going to keep
Okay.
on. If you're just joining us, welcome to the recap. This is the Ready to Love recap right here on Rolling Out. And of course, we're going to talk about everything that happened on tonight's episode of Ready to Love. I am joined by my good friend and fellow journalist, Ray Cornelius. He is the host and producer of Upfront, holding it down for Clark Atlanta University, and all the many amazing, actually just one of the dopest journalists here in Atlanta, besides Clark. Also, just like,
Thank you.
there's so much going on here, but so few journalists from that, like the journalists from the old school that have that integrity, but still mixed up with some fly. So I got to give you those props.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. We were talking, what was that, 2 weeks ago, and just kind of going back and forth. And we've had other conversations about loving relationships here in Atlanta. And so when you said, "Hey, Ray, would you like to come on?" I was like, absolutely. I love this show. I love watching it. My sister and I, we watch it faithfully. So yeah, was happy to come.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me. I was thinking, like, we have had conversations about dating here in Atlanta, and I want to ask you, since you've watched, the shows over the seasons. We're in season 4. How different do you think the episodes are in Houston? The seasons are in Houston as opposed to Atlanta. And you guys can go ahead and bring those comments in. Ray and I will be answering questions. It's going to be an interactive, fun conversation. But what do you think about Atlanta versus Houston when it comes to the dating?
Well, definitely, I would say with this season, I actually had a chance to talk to Tommy a few weeks back about the show. I noticed that there was a more mature age level of contestants. You've got people ranging from, I think, Troy, who was like 50, all the way down to like, maybe late 30s, which was a little bit different from, I think, what we experienced in Atlanta. And I think it makes a difference when you have someone, people that are a little bit, older and more mature. They know what they want. They know exactly what they want. Yeah.
I agree. I do think that the age limit is different, but I think that it's funny because sometimes maturity and age don't always align, right? So before we get into tonight's episode, I think that, sometimes you can look at, depending on the demographic. I know Atlanta is a very entertainment driven, youth driven city, in my opinion. So you have people that are definitely trying to stay young and trying to stay in touch with that vibe, right? And then Houston.
Listen, ATL, listen, when I have friends who have said, who have told partners, listen, if you don't work out, we won't work out. Like, that's for real. That's for real. It's about how you look. And I tell everyone, Atlanta is one of those cities where everyone is in the gym. Right. I don't care if you're full figured. I don't care if you're body of the year. Everybody is very health conscious. Everybody wants to look their best. People dress up just to go to the grocery store. You never catch people out of pocket. Hair salons, barbershops full every Friday, every Saturday. So yeah, we're very, we're into how we look in this city.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I think Houston is kind of like that as well, but maybe not to the extent that Atlanta is, because to me, there's you got a very good looking cast. I don't know if it's the same fascination with the external as it was here in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think, to your point, with Atlanta being the Black Hollywood of the South, or just Black Hollywood period, there is that level of stepping out, making sure that everything is on point. You never know who you're going to run into. People say it all the time. You're gonna see someone famous at Lenox Mall. That's for real. Like that actually happens. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or you can just be in, at an event, and someone will just show up that you had no idea would be there. So you always want to look your best. You always want to represent, yourself. And then again, because there's always, Atlanta's one of those cities where before Corona, you could eat for free like every night, because somebody was always throwing a gathering. There was always some type of social. There was always some type of, get together. And we love to eat. I always say Black people love to eat. We love to get dressed. And we love good music.
Yeah, we do. We love to be social. We love to be seen. Right. So
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm really enjoying this season 4. I think season 3, they did a great job of putting it together during COVID, like
Yeah.
middle, like, mid COVID season. So having everybody on a resort, but I think that kind of brought out, like, issues that you would not normally have had. Season 3, you got a woman that's 5 months pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did that happen?
So here's the thing. So I think with those guys being on the resort, the challenge with that is you could not run from the people that you were trying to get to know.
Mm-mm.
With this season and in prior seasons, to season 3, you can go, you can meet that person, you can go home, and you can be whoever, but you can send your representative. When
Right.
you're at that resort, you had to be on it all the time.
24/7. 24/7.
Yeah, yeah, because there was nowhere for you to run, which poses a challenge because a lot of times when we meet people, we meet their representative and we don't really meet them.
That's true. That's very true. But in that case, I guess you almost would have got the more authentic version, or at least the authentic version while they're secluded in COVID, right? So
Yeah.
none of those couples is interesting because from season 3, no couples worked out. Like, everybody just was like, I'm out, I'm gone. I think that Joy and Jay, after she had a tragedy in her family,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
didn't work out. And then we had him on, when this season first started, and he said that he actually really, was hoping they would get a chance to reconnect, and it didn't work. And that's understandable because the tragedy, her mind probably wasn't on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Calfani and Adriana, I didn't trust them anyway.
So here's what I told Tommy about that. I honestly felt that Adriana should have step 2 or gone with the other guy. I can't think of his name right now. Light skinned guy. Kind of remind me of Scottie Pippen. That's
Yeah,
who she should have
I
given
agree.
the opportunity to. But because she wanted to spite Denise,
Mm,
right? She wanted to spite Denise. She played with Calfani. She didn't want Calfani.
yeah.
She didn't want Calfani.
I think she was attracted to Calfani. You don't think so?
I don't. I think maybe possibly, but at the end of the day, that's not who she really wanted. But because she wanted to spite Denise, and here's the thing: Denise kind of messed her. Actually, not kind of. Denise messed herself up at the end. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I thought that her and Calfani would have been a really good couple. They're both athletes. To meet people who are athletic or go-getters, they're very strong. They're very, you can't just life can come at them, but they're still going to find a way to kind of get through that. And I felt
Yeah.
that they would have made a really good team. I felt that, oh gosh, I'm forgetting her name. I'm forgetting her name.
Adriana?
Adriana. Yeah, I
Yeah.
felt that Adriana was attracted to him physically, but
Yeah.
not the real him.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
I agree. I think I think it was like infatuation, because I think Calfani came in there with all the muscles, and thank you, Lola. It was Rashid that she really would have been a
Yeah.
better fit for her. But I also think that's like true to life. I think a lot of times the person that's the more consistent, makes sense. It's the more logical choice, is not the one that people pick all the time because they want the excitement. And I think
Yeah.
she just wanted to go to bed with Calfani, honestly. Um,
I mean, it was evident. I mean, when you look at him, I mean, come on, the guy's a very attractive guy, right? And
yeah,
I think that first out of the gate, that's what's on our mind. But the thing is, you got to get beyond that, and I think beyond just the sex. And who knows? We don't know what they did. When the
right.
cameras were off. We don't know what people actually did. In the rooms, but. I think that you got to go a little bit deeper than that. And then two, we also have to realize as the viewer, and you know this, Crystal, a lot of these shows, everything is taped, things are spliced. So we're really not, I don't really know how much time you really got to spend with this person.
Right. Right.
And so once we get out of this, this lights, camera, action situation, who are you really? And were you really attracted to me, or did you just not want to look bad on television? So you got to get through all of those things. And I
Yeah.
don't know if at the end they realize or see that maybe this person's for me, maybe this person's not for me.
Yeah. Speaking of that, so last week we had Ida and Andrea on now.
Okay.
So let's get into season 4. So one of the things that people really responded to, first of all, Ida's just a great personality. She's fun. She's great for TV, but we didn't get to see much of her personality. And that's one of the things that both ladies said, is that it was edited down to where you got to see small segments of their personality, but not like the positive stuff. So Andrea said she had a lot of great days. She had some great interactions and great conversations that we didn't get a chance to see. What we saw was her conversation about her cat.
Yeah, which I'm gonna tell you, I as a viewer, I was like, yo, can they go to another? Because really, you gonna sit up here and talk about your damn cat? Are you for real? Okay.
And she
I
said
was
she was being authentic because her cats are her babies right now. That's where she's at in life. She doesn't have kids. She has cats. And the cat was missing. And the guy asked, how was her day? And she was sad about the cat. So but she was a little different. My thing is, I'm going to ask you, because you've interviewed thousands of reality stars and you know how that goes. And it's funny how people always assume that they came off different on camera. But a lot of times I'm like, no, that's kind of you. Like what we saw was kind of you.
I mean, and I think what we see most of the time is that person. Now, yeah, there may be, some times where the producers may say, hey, do this, or so and so has said this. But I think for the most part, what we see is, I would say, about 70% accurate.
Yeah.
And it was something that she did that I did not. It was someone that she wasn't gelling with that I didn't like her response. And Ida's the one with the shorter hair, right?
Ida's the one with the short hair. She said that the producers kept telling her.
Ida kept running that mouth. I was like, gosh, like, for real? You go take the whole conversation.
Is she? You know what? Let me ask you this. She seems a little socially awkward. And I asked a relationship therapist, do people, because even Khalid that was sent home at first, Khalid and Christian that both were sent home, and I really like Christian a lot. Khalid, I thought, needed to get over his past. But I think that people that are a little socially awkward, and I can kind of relate to that because I'm very conversational, but if I'm in a dating situation, I can be kind of shy or standoffish. I think that if you're socially awkward, you do horribly on shows like this. Like unless you know like how to really flirt well, how to really get in there, because Christian was a good guy. He just wasn't forward.
There wasn't anything wrong with Christian. I felt like, okay, this is your first time meeting someone.
Mm-hmm.
Either it was like, did you want Christian or did you want Troy? Because Troy was all over the place, right? So Troy was a bit much, but you guys kept Troy. Christian was not. And then I didn't like the way that, and I can't remember the young lady's name, when they were kind of in the corner and she had hinted to wanting some water. He went up and he got the water. He came back and she was gone.
Yeah,
like, what was that about? What was that about? Yeah. And so I felt like, give this guy another opportunity. Now, the other gentleman that you were talking about that was, kind of, that I don't know if, when it comes to these types of reality programs or anything dealing with cameras, you need big personalities, right? You need people that are really going, because you're trying to keep the attention of the viewer. You're not going to keep the attention of the viewer if you're not,
in your face.
Kind of, And he was a little too, he was almost like the guy from, that got kicked off from the resort that was the artist. Remember that guy?
Oh,
kind of short dreads. He was a little awkward as well. Yeah, he kind of reminded me of that guy.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
you're right. Those types don't do well, and I think that it probably is harder for people like that to date. Period, because dating is very much like, I think Ready to Love is like a snapshot into real life. Dating in real life. If you don't go out and get what you want, and you're not, outspoken, a lot of times you do miss opportunity because other people are more forward. I know as a female, I've never hit on a guy ever. And I know a lot of females that are very comfortable hitting on guys, and they usually get the guy. They may not keep him, but
what's your definition of hitting on a guy?
Well, when I say hitting on, I mean actually going up and introducing yourself, talking to them. Like I would never do that. Like I would never go over and say,
Really?
hi. Yeah, no.
You wouldn't do that.
No, I've never done it. And as many years as I've been on this planet, I have never walked up to a guy that I was attracted to and started talking.
So who do you find attractive? Like name someone that you find attractive.
Denzel Washington.
Okay, if you're in a place and Denzel Washington walks in and you've got the hots for Denzel Washington, you mean to tell me you go watch Denzel the whole night and not say anything?
I would not say. I would what I've done, Ray, is and some of my girlfriends know this. I will smile at them and I will look at them and kind of bat my eyes a little bit.
Okay.
And that usually works. Like if they're attracted to you, that works.
I mean, you know what? I guess because of the industry that we're in, and sometimes I can be shy too, but then a lot of times for me to get over something, and I've done this before, and this may sound really, really corny I mean, really corny, but sometimes it's like, don't I know you? Haven't we met?
Does that work?
You look familiar. I mean, it depends on who you're talking to. At least for me, it's striking up the conversation. It's at least saying, getting, because a lot of times when you do some of these socials, you're either holding up the wall or you're not even near the wall.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're holding up the wall. So it's like, to break that ice, just go over and introduce yourself. Yo, I'm Crystal with Rolling Out. Who are you?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. I can't do it. Can't do it. I would be sent home. I would be sent home the first day on Ready to Love. I would go home. I would literally be the chick that went home. Now, I want to ask you something else because this is just me being honest. This made me angry. So on the show last week, we'll get to this week, guys. We're coming. Okay. We're coming to this week. But last week we saw Tressa, who is I guess what people would call the full-figured lady.
Right.
And my guy here, let me pull, I'm looking at their names. I'm still getting used to this cast. Diedrich.
Okay.
So Tressa and Diedrich, he immediately first mixer said, that's not my type. I'm not into the BBWs. I'm not interested. She could be a homie. I mean, he was real clear. She could be a homie, but I'm not interested in her. So then he has a conversation and she's cool. She's, I guess she's peaceful. Guys, they like peace. So she's peaceful and she's very down to earth. And then all of a sudden he says, man, I kind of changed my mind. I want to go on a date with her. And then she's saying at the end, she's like, oh my gosh, what made you change your mind? And she's kind of happy that Diedrich, who's one of the, I think, more attractive guys on the show, has shown interest in her. That pissed me off, right? I'm gonna tell you why. Because I watch, doing relationship conversations all the time. I've watched Millionaire Matchmaker from back in the day with Patty, love Patty, Married at First Sight, and of course Ready to Love, and all these different dating shows. Men have to be attracted to something visually. You guys are visual creatures. So if a man is not initially attracted and then he decides, okay, I like the personality, that isn't going to work. It never works. Patty used to say, the penis does the picking. I stand by that. I stand by it, Ray. I stand by it. It won't work.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be some type of physical attraction. And I think sometimes you're right. I think what can happen is sometimes, and I'm sure this has happened to you. Maybe you've seen someone and you were like, they're all right. But then sometimes they could either change up something, or maybe they could say something that strikes something in you that you're like, okay, that was, okay, I kind of like that. And you could be attracted to that. I think what's gonna determine whether it goes anywhere is this next date. And I think that if he was not attracted to her, he would have allowed the date where he was about to tell her that she was about to, be kicked to the curb. He would allow that to just be it. But he asked her for a second opportunity. So there may be, and here's the thing. He never said that he wasn't attracted, right, to women who look like her. He was just saying at this time, he's not attracted to women who look like her, right? Isn't that?
Well, he said initially his knee-jerk response was, "That's not my type."
That's not my type. Right. Okay. Okay.
So
what comes out is really how you feel.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it changes. I think you can like the person. I think he looked and he was like, he probably felt like, okay, I was really quick to judge her. She's nice. She's cool. But that still don't mean I want to go to bed with her.
Right. And I actually think that they look really good together. I think they really look good together.
Who do you like together? So on tonight's episode, I love Chrysanthemum and
Ron got y'all. Ron got y'all because Ron got me. I was like, wait a minute, where'd that come from?
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting, because he came all kind of suited and had the tie. He was real quiet, but then he came, bam, body, all that, and it was just like, oh, okay, and it caught her off guard.
It did, because she said, "Oh, he was good," but oh, okay. And I actually liked his conversation. I kind of thought, like, when the first episode, I think he was talking about somebody else that he didn't like, and he kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But actually listening to his conversation, what we heard of it tonight with her and him being really honest about his past and all that, I was like, okay, well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I like those two together. I liked Chris, because I took notes. I like Chris and Amber.
I did too. I think Amber is the only person on there. I don't really see Chris connecting with anybody else. I don't see it.
No, not with who's left. No. No. And I'm gonna tell you, so I like Chris and Amber. I like Joel and Vernicia.
Yes, I did too.
I like them together.
I did too. First of all, I think to me, he's the most attractive guy on the show. He's very confident, but there's also something very genuine about him that I really like. Like, I don't know. I know that the smoothness usually guys that are too smooth are kind of full of it, but he is smooth, but I think maybe because of what he's gone through.
That's that New Orleans. Y'all like that New Orleans.
I don't usually like the New Orleans, right? That accent's not my favorite, but he has it. I'm feeling him, and then also I also really liked hold on, the two that both shared their Christian background.
Yeah. That's so David and Liz. Now,
David and Liz.
Let me say this. This is the first time I think in Ready to Love history that you've really had two people who really expressed how important their faith is to them and relationships. And I don't think you've ever really had that. And I think that's important because you know what? There are people who do not want to have sex before marriage. And that's okay. Nobody should be, we shouldn't scrutinize. We shouldn't say, oh, that sucks. No, that's a decision that they've made for themselves. And you have to make decisions that are best and good for you. I can't judge you on your decision. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. And I respect that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that sometimes when you have to have that balance. Everybody can't just be like, yo, I want to check it before I get married. But there are some people who are like, no, I really want to. This means a lot to me.
Right.
When you throw sex into any situation, it can go left real quick.
It usually does.
Yeah.
It really does. I agree with you. I said, wow, because at first I was thinking when she started talking, I was like, why do people come on this show that are abstinent or want to practice celibacy? Because that's not the general vibe of the show. But I do love the fact that you can tell that his background and her background are really synonymous. They both have that religious upbringing that probably makes them more aware. So he actually understands and appreciates that. And then for her to come back, after Stacey mentioned that he, wanted to share passcodes, and she was like, well, I'm not going to judge him for that because they have the same definition of marriage and what that means. And I was like, that's great because it really proves that people, there are different types of people in the world. And even though there's kind of like a majority, it's great to see them show the other side to that because he seems a little awkward, But when I heard about his, I mean, he grew up in a very religious,
He's got some trust issues.
Yeah.
This is the first time, I think. So there are a lot of firsts, I think, this season. This is the first time we've ever seen a guy be as vulnerable as David was tonight on the first date. I mean, he was almost in tears. And I
Yeah.
was kind of watching this from afar because I said I was shaving, trying to get ready for the night. But just watching that little bit, I was like, okay, we've never seen a guy do that. I think that's important, because usually, to me, those words that he said are usually words that come from women.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I felt like, because he's been hurt, and hurt has no gender. Hurt is hurt. Right. So I think because he's been hurt, and he was like, I just don't want anyone to leave me. I honestly, I want to go back. I didn't like Stacey's comment about his age. I thought that was very immature. And I wrote down her age. She's 39, he's 44. That's not that big of an age gap, but it is. It is in terms of life experiences.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that, because I'm 45, and who I was at 39, that Ray, totally different.
But see, I think that's a male thing. And I don't not to really make gender an issue, but I do think that men and women mature differently.
Right.
Because I can say we're the same age, and honestly, I am the same person that I was at 39. I don't feel, but I feel like women are usually in a certain space. Now, of course, we all mature differently in terms of like career and what we want and our goals, but women are usually a little bit more set. I have a lot of guy friends that are like, I think a lot differently now than I did in my 30s, and I'm like, no, I've pretty much been here.
And then too, when you look at your career, Crystal, I mean, you're not the average woman, right? From the standpoint of, you have had to be a go-getter.
Yeah.
This type of career, entertainment type of career, is not a career for passive people. You have to, you gotta, you gotta fight. You know what I mean? So it's that mentality. There's a difference, I think.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. But I agree with you. I didn't like her comment. I also felt like, did you see their date when they were working out? She was not into it. From the time he came in, she was looking at herself. She was giving him instruction, but she wasn't engaging him. And I was like, she's not really into him. I'm not sure if maybe she never was attracted to him, but she didn't really give him. And it's almost like when you can tell when a person isn't into it, they're looking for anything to automatically write the person off. And so when he mentioned the thing about, she was talking about privacy versus transparency.
Yeah.
I felt like that was her reaching, because she already just wasn't feeling him.
But see, that's what she did with Christian. She made it seem as if Christian was standing off in the corner with a dunce cap on when they first met. That wasn't, she was like, I need him to be aggressive. Well, hell, you had Troy, but you didn't like that either. So it's like, what do you want? You know what I mean? But I think you're right. I think, and two, another thing, when it comes to dates, and I think you and I have had this conversation before, dates should be interactive. I don't know about going to the gym, but I love the date that Chris and Amber had, right? Because that allowed them to really get to know each other. Something that
the date that Chrysanthemum had with Ron, with their playing, I think that's super cute, and it allows you to see a little bit of that person's personality in a playful way, where you can kind of start. It kind of allows you to let those barriers down that make dating kind of awkward, right?
Yeah.
But you're playing. I thought that was a really cute date, also.
I mean, go rock climbing, go cycling, go
horseback riding.
There you go. That's a really good date.
It is. That's one of my favorite dates. So let's talk about Troy.
Okay.
Let's talk about Troy, because first of all, I'm not gonna lie. So we have Troy on Monday.
Okay.
So I want to be fair. I want to give him a chance to explain himself, because we know editing can happen. But from the beginning, Troy seemed like somebody that was there for himself, and to, be this guy that had a connection with everybody. And that's just not realistic. I don't think he came into the situation authentic. I think he came in. I mean, the line about the trips. I don't know how many guys I've heard. That's a very popular thing. That's, we can go here. I can take you. Let me fly you out. There's that. Oh, so when I heard him doing that, I just thought he's not really here to connect. He's here for his own ego so that he can, kind of have his pick. And that doesn't work, especially in a situation like that where there are a lot of other, good looking guys that are doing well. But it also seems like somebody that's a little insecure, because if you're not secure, you shouldn't need to try to connect with all the different women there, especially not at 51.
So I'm gonna go back to what I'm gonna go back to what you said a little earlier when I said that this was a more mature, audience, and you were like, or cast members, and you said, well, age doesn't necessarily, symbolize or signify, maturity. And I think that this is a prime example of that because to me, I felt like Troy. It was almost like Troy was a kid in a candy store, and he saw all of the licorice and all of the Tootsie Rolls and all of the Snicker bars, and was just like, damn, I want it all, I mean? And so I think that, but you know what though, who in a sense kind of acts that way towards the men is Alexis.
Alexis, yeah.
And so for me as a viewer, I'm just like, why don't you just what's his name? Who does she go on a date with? Is it
the basketball player?
I'm like, would you just jump this man's bones and just call it a day? Because that to me she is. She reminds me of the the cartoon where the wolf is looking at the pigs and his tongue kind of salivates his face. That's what she looks like when she's looking at him like, I want that thing right now.
She did, but you know what? Did you see how AJ was like, she's a little bit too forward? It's interesting because men are always usually the more forward ones, but when a woman has that type of energy back, it throws them off.
guys don't like that, guys, because then it kind of, we want to be able to say something. We want to be able to kind of do those things, and that's not, and that's different from what we were talking about earlier, where I said it's okay for you to approach a guy. That's not the same thing.
Yeah,
two totally different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, her approach, and then just some of the things, like she was like, yeah, everything over here is moist. It's like, okay, really? It's like, okay, cut the cameras. Y'all just go in the room and just make it quick. Hurry up.
I don't think he wanted to go.
Here's a condom.
I don't think he wanted to go. I think it takes like the lion wants to hunt, and then if the antelope just came and threw itself at the lion may be like, I don't know if I want to eat that. I don't know if I want it. I think I'm good. Yeah.
And here's the thing, because the guy will say, yeah, I don't want to do it, but he will.
He will.
Just because it's there. But at the end of the day, that's not who he wants.
Yeah.
You may do that, but he's going to be looking at Chrysanthemum. I cannot say her name. Chrysanthemum. Yeah. He's going to go after that, because that wasn't her approach. That's not how she came out the gate.
He is another one that I kind of feel like is, all the ladies had him in their top initially. Like every woman said AJ. And I think he's kind of the kind that is used to, he's tall, tall, dark skin, got the great beard happening. I think he's used to women, he's very confident, and he's also kind of laid back. So you know that he knows the women are attracted to him, but he's not really making any moves. It doesn't seem like. He seems like he's just kind of sitting back watching everything happen.
AJ's in entertainment. You got to keep that in mind. He's a DJ, right?
He's a producer.
Yeah, he's a producer. So he's used to people being like, ooh, that's what that is.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be interesting, because I just thought it was so, and he does have like a quiet charisma, because every woman mentioned him on the first day, but he hadn't said very much. It was just his presence. So I was like, he's going to be one to watch. I think that AJ and Dietrich, it'll be interesting to see if Joelle, because we know Ready to Love has twists and turns. So even though Joelle and Bernicia seem to be vibing right now, he's a cutie pie and he's very confident and he knows how. I mean, he got those ready-made lines for the women. Like they're coming. Dietrich is totally alpha male, and I think he's going to be a problem as well. And then, like I said, I definitely think AJ kind of has his pick, of the ladies.
AJ may have his pick, but the thing about it is he? I actually thought that the young lady that they had the first date, where she said that he, what was it? She had left her credit card and he had used the card to get it, yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly felt that as a producer, this is me putting on my producer's cap, I would have given them another date.
Yeah.
I would have given them another date to be able to, and I think they got together a little bit, but not not an actual date.
They're going to, though, because I feel like she gave him another chance, but there's that history there. So
she needs to let that go. And she said that. She said that, listen, okay, now that I know the real, truth behind that, right, I'm going to forgive you. She doesn't need to mention it again. And if she does, that says something about her. Let it go. Yeah. If you're done with it, you're done with it.
But it was pretty bad, though, Ray.
It was bad, but I mean,
she came back and he had that's pretty bad.
I personally would have just got some water. I mean, if you didn't have the money, you don't order it.
Well, no, he said that his credit card didn't work.
Right.
So I think he said that. So maybe he had already eaten, and then he gave them his credit card. His credit card didn't work. At that point, you just got to be honest. You can't run her credit card when she goes to the bathroom.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I'm getting. I thought he ran the card to get a drink. I'm sorry. Okay, so they had already had dinner.
Well, yeah, but he ran his card to get a drink, and then she had a drink. So both of them had drinks.
Okay.
And he was supposed to pay. He was going to pay for it.
Both of the drinks.
The card came back. Her card was on the table, so he just went ahead and let them run her card.
Did he pay her back?
No, because remember they didn't talk anymore. In fact, he blamed her when they had a conversation. He said that she needed to get over it and be more open to sharing, the bill.
Yeah.
So not only was he kind of sneaky in running her card, but then the fact that he tried to place I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So at that point, what he should have said to her was, listen, we ran the card because simply my credit card is not working right now. And I don't know if the date was prior to Cash App or what, but I would go out to an ATM or whatever, give her money back.
Yeah.
And then some. You know what I mean? You don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was very bad, a sign of bad character. And the fact that, like I said, and then afterwards, and I'm sure she came at him because, that's any woman would. If I went on a date and then came back and told my girlfriends, do you know that he ran my card after? Like, that's a bad thing. So for him to not come back and apologize, but to immediately try to save his ego by flipping it, not a good move. So I understand if she can't move past that, but he did apologize and came out. I think that he's going to want to go back, if not anything other than to redeem himself with her. She's a very attractive woman. Obviously, he was attracted to her a lot for them to go out, but he probably is going to try to redeem himself with her.
They should let him do that.
Yeah.
That should actually be part of the show. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it will. I think that's coming. What are your predictions for, and it's so hard to do right now, but what are your predictions? Who do you think is going to stick around?
So just based off of tonight, I don't think Stacey's gonna make it. Yeah. I don't know what Stacey's looking for, but it's not on this show. I wouldn't, and I'll say this. I thought Ron was a goner as well, because we really didn't get to see him. And a lot of times with these shows, when you really don't see cast members a lot, typically they don't stick around. But
Yeah.
I think that he might stick around because of the reaction that Chris
Cynthia, yeah.
that she gave tonight. Because what that's gonna do is make the other ladies go, well, wait a minute, well, let me check out Ron.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me see what Ron got going. Is Ron gonna show up with that muscle shirt on? So
But you know what? I think you're right. But Ron and Chrysanthemum seem to be on the same vibe.
for now, because in the previews we saw something totally different.
Yeah.
I think Chris and Amber could work. Um, you know, here's the thing. I think with this, and one of the things that they had talked about in season 3 is it can be detrimental to you if you focus on just one person real early.
Yes.
If people are trying to make decisions, I think I have to. Oh my gosh, what's the one? Short hair, blonde that like Jay. What was her name? Not Sunshine. What was her? Oh my gosh, from last season.
Oh, Winter.
Winter. I like Winter because Winter tried to get to know all of those guys.
Yeah.
At the resort, and getting to know someone and going on a date, 2 different things. True. Getting to know someone, just going up to them, having a conversation. Let me see what you're about. Let me see what your conversation is like. Let me see, what do you do? Let me just try to get to know you. Yeah. That is what this process is supposed to be, because you're supposed to, if you've got 5 people in front of you and you're only focusing on one, the other 4 are like, well, do we not, and then when it comes to, well, do you know who Ray is? Well, no, Ray has been focusing on Crystal.
Yeah.
But if Ray focused on Crystal, and then I said something to Tamara, and then I got to know Deidre, those are 3 people that can say, you know what, Ray's a good guy. So you have to, I think, if you're not, and it doesn't make you, the problem that Troy was doing the right thing in terms of trying to get to know as many people, but the stuff that he was that he was coming, it was too much. The kisses on the cheek, the Troy was trying to be Diddy.
He was. He was moving. He was moving with it. But let me ask you this though, saying that, but every season we see, there's a very thin line between trying to get people and then also being authentic, because every year or every season, from London, Alexis, and Divine, it's like trying to stay in the middle, but yet you gotta pick. You gotta pick somebody, because otherwise you're going to be seen as not being authentic.
Well, that's the thing. You have to be so in your trying. So here's I guess if it were me, if I were there, I would try to maybe get to know 3 people. Right? Not all 10 people. I would try to get to know 3 people, because 3 allows you to, I guess, in terms of time, you can really get to know 3 people at the same time. I can't get to know 5 and 6 people at the same time.
Yeah.
Out of those 3, you may just say, out of the 3, this is not the strongest connection. But I've got a strong connection with these 2, and then I can focus on those 2. And then out of that, it's like, when it comes down to it, who's really going to be the one? And then you can make your choice. Yeah. So you go from, you know what I mean? To me, that would be the better way to do it, and do it genuinely. I think a lot of times, and maybe this is just good camera work, we know those that are going around and try to get to know people so they can stay on the show. That's what old girl did on last season, who was the lawyer that tried to throw Jay and Joy. That's what happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't genuine.
Yeah, you're right. It does come across and it's not genuine, which is why Troy went home. I think that, it's also very natural to just gravitate towards what you're very attracted to, right? So I think when people, like, for instance, last season, KG, Chris, and Maya, he just was very attracted. He felt comfortable. It was totally the wrong thing to do, but I also appreciated the fact that he was willing as a man to say, it's a lot of beautiful women here, but this is where I feel the connection. Just too soon. But I think that that's just a really authentic person. It's like, If
And
you're
she
trying to
was
find
not.
love,
She was
but
not.
the game means that you've got to protect your protect your sides, right? You gotta make sure that you're doing something to make sure that you're okay and you able to stay in the game. So it's kind of like you got to remember it is finding love, but it is also survival.
This is a competition, right?
Yeah,
So when you do those American Idol shows, yeah, I'll get to know you. Yeah, we can hang out and have drinks and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna out sing your ass. I'm not gonna let you get on stage and bring down the house and I not come back and not kill it. That's
right.
just the competitive nature of this show. And so
Yeah,
I think that can be difficult because now you're talking, it's different when you're talking about a competition for a cash prize and you're singing.
right.
You're dealing with talent. This is dealing with real emotions. This is
Mhm.
dealing with, do I like you? Do I
Yeah.
possibly want to be with you? Do are you my mate?
Mhm.
That's a little different. I personally wouldn't do something like this.
I wouldn't either. I would never go on a show like this. I would not, because I just, like I said, I think that the characteristic that you need to be successful, you have to be a little disingenuous, a little, because you gotta be focused on the game. And I would be the one that was like, oh, I like him, and it's like I would rather either I'm playing a game and my heart's not involved, or I'm going for my heart. I don't like to mix the two. Like, I'm not. I like to know. I wouldn't date. I don't like. That's why, like in the entertainment industry, I'm not dating in that, because that's where I'm working, and I'm very specific about work. I don't want to mix the two because you can't. Often they do not go together.
Yeah, but you know what? And we've talked about this. I think it's hard for those of us that do what we do to date someone who doesn't understand what
It
we
is. It
do,
is.
because, our friends, and we've said this before, oh, I saw you in the picture with so and so. Yeah, that was work. They
Yeah.
see it as something else. No,
Yeah.
that's work to me. Do you know what it took for me to get that picture?
Right. And do you know that I would rather not have met the real person, because sometimes the idea of something is so much better than the reality. It's so much better than the reality.
Nine
So,
times out of ten, the favorite your favorites turn out to be, it was all right.
yeah.
It's the people that you weren't checking for, that it was like, they weren't on my radar, but you meet them and you're like, damn, like,
Yeah.
yo, they are so, it's like, where you been? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been a great conversation. You have to come back. You have to come back, Ray, because you actually know the show. I've had relationship experts and guests on for the recap, and a lot of them, if you don't really know the show, it's hard to have a real conversation. So we'll have to come back. I want you to come back once we've had some more people exit, and we have some good juicy clips that we could talk about, because you know the show, and you give great perspective that's different.
I can't, when you said it at the top, and this is for anyone that is looking to do what Crystal and I do, you cannot interview these people or do an interview and you've not watched the film,
Yeah.
you've not read the book, you've not watched the TV show. You cannot fake that.
Mm-mm.
And believe me, because these people do this all the time, they know when you know the show.
Yeah.
When Tommy and I talked, I was like, Tommy, I got questions. I was asking him about this. He was so he was like, oh shit, okay, you watch
Yeah.
this? Yeah, I do watch
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah.
So
And I
yeah,
got
yeah.
questions for you. Speaking of Tommy, when do you think we're going to see his wife? Where is she? When's she coming in?
Well, she was on for the first
Yeah.
the preview.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think she's gonna be. She may be back, maybe for the reunion. But I did like that dynamic of having both of them on.
Yeah.
I like that.
I thought it was going to be.
The
I
both
hope
of them.
back before the reunion,
Yeah.
because I tell you what, I think Tommy does a great job of giving advice from a male perspective to the men. I mean, he holds them accountable, right?
Right.
I think that I love the idea of them bringing on a woman to also hold the women accountable, because, if Tommy was holding the women accountable, he would kind of be looked at as like, wait a minute, he's being hard on her. Or, but a woman saying, hey, now you got to make a decision. Because there were women that were kind of women got away with a little bit more, I think, than the guys. Because Tommy is real quick to be like, hey, Playboy, you got to make it. You can't be doing this to these women. So I like the idea of balancing that out, but I would like to see her when he sits down with them before elimination. I would love to see her sit down with the women.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that we see that before the reunion.
There was one thing I did want to say, and I did not say this to him, but I cringe every time I hear it. I don't like when they're dismissing the contestants and
Yeah.
they say that you're not ready to love.
Yeah.
I don't like that, because
Yeah.
that how can you tell me that I'm not ready to love? I didn't find love
Yeah.
here.
I agree with you.
But don't tell me I'm not ready to love.
Yeah.
Just say, we agree that love is not here for you at this time. Yeah.
We should tell Tommy that, because I agree. It's so dismissive and it's personal.
Yeah.
It's personal, and you're right. It doesn't, because Andrea and Ida both, beautiful, intelligent. It wasn't the right fit. And we know, like we've talked about before, like you can go out with someone or you can see someone have great conversation. It's just not a good fit. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that person or anything wrong with you. When people are like, oh, well, why is she single this many years? Or why are you single that many years? Something must be wrong with you. No, you just may not have found the right fit, And so I agree. It's kind of very dismissive. Like, we have decided that you are not ready to love.
Yeah, you're not ready to love. It's like, I ain't ready to love. That's why the old girl put that wine down. I know she wanted to throw it and be like, your ass ain't ready to love. It's like, how you gonna tell me I ain't ready to love? Like,
right.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
I agree. It's kind of cheesy too. It's kind of cheesy with the title. It's like,
It just, to your point, I think it's a very personal thing. It can be very hurtful, because I'm looking as a viewer, I'm looking at their eyes.
Yeah.
And when they hear that you're not ready to love, and it's like, oh wow, so I'm not good enough to love?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay.
Yeah.
And you know who I got that from the most was Catwoman.
Ida.
No, it was Ida, or was it the with the
no, Andrea.
No, Andrea. Yeah. When she was like, really? It was kind of like shocking, like,
Yeah.
oh wow, okay. And so I was like, I don't like that. That's not
I didn't like it, even with like Christian and Khalid. I felt like, you could see Christian's face falling, because he
was very disappointed.
Yeah, I think he is ready to love. He just is, and like you said, the situation that happened with Stacey, all of it's for production. But you're right. It just means that love wasn't there. And it may not be there right now, because there have been couples that hooked up afterwards from the show. We know Riva and Mario are still together.
They're still together. Yeah. Yeah.
And they are. And then there was another couple that didn't get a lot of screen time on their season, but they hooked up after the show, and I believe they're still together.
And you know who else connected was from last season was Shay and the chef that was in that liked Joy.
I heard that, but I also heard that they weren't actually together. I heard they were just doing like a project together. They were both cooking. So yeah, I
okay.
I know. Because I was like, wait a minute. And then I did a little bit more researching, and they were like, no, they're just doing a project together. And they are hooking up to cook together, but they're not a couple. I was like,
and I'm going to tell you, Joy should have ended up with that guy. But I think his mental health issues scared her off.
Yeah. But you know what I think? And I don't know if you watch Married at First Sight, but there was a situation on Married at First Sight where you got to try it, Ray. Try one episode and then we'll talk again. Try one. But there was an episode where there's a black guy named Miles. He was paired with a lady named Karen, and he mentioned that he deals with depression, and it immediately turned her off, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it goes to the point that we've all talked about, especially over the last few years. We're not used to Black men acknowledging their issues. So when we see that, it's like, I don't know what to do with that, because we're supposed, they're supposed to be so stoic and so standoffish. But when you peel back those layers and you get one that's very open, because he came out and he was like, I deal with depression, I shut down. And she was like, I need someone that's strong. And it's like, that doesn't mean he's not strong. And they work through it, and she actually has learned. And it's a beautiful example of how that can be changed. But I think with the chef, him acknowledging his PTSD was scary to everybody on the show. And I actually give him credit for being willing to talk about it, because there are a lot of men that are dealing, but they know if they say something, women are going to be like,
yeah, but wouldn't you rather someone be upfront about, look, this is, because, and here's the thing, it's going to save a lot of heartache, because what if he didn't say that to Joy? They got together
yeah,
after the show, things are going really well, and then something happens. And
yeah,
then it's like, well, why didn't you tell me?
yeah. And
And it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, but had I told you, would you have stayed?
yeah,
And at that point, it's like, well, hell, I've been with you all this time.
yeah,
No, she proved that. No, I'm not willing. I'm not willing to go down that road with you.
yeah. I think that we need to talk about it more so we take away the stigma, because I think a lot of men are holding it in, and then when you hold it in, you start drinking, and then you have all these other behavior, or even having an affair because she listens to me and I can be this honest person. So there's all these things, but these type of conversations are good. And I think, I give him credit for actually being honest about that, because some guy was sitting at home suffering from that, and it helped him to see that. So I think that was good. Lola says that Simone and Rashida are doing a show together and they have great chemistry. I am not here for all these shows. Either they gonna get together for love or not.
Simone and Rashid are doing it. Mm.
You said no.
She had some. She had some personal things that I think that she needs to deal with. And see, here's the thing. Everybody doesn't need a show, because what a show does, what people don't realize, a show magnifies what's already there. Just
Yeah.
like money magnifies what's already there. So if
Yes.
you were an idiot before you have money, you're going to be an idiot with money, with
Bigger
a lot of
idiot
money.
because
Yeah,
you have more opportunities, right?
to be an
Right.
idiot. So you really have to be careful when you put yourself out there to do a show. And I tell people this all the time. You're not in control of your image when you do these reality shows. I worked on a reality show many moons ago. I mean, early 2000s. So
Yeah.
I know the process of how all that stuff works. And I was like, I will never, ever do one of these, because you're not in charge of your image. It's for
Yeah.
television.
It is for television. As you know, I was a part of What Chili Wants, being her personal publicist, and that was difficult. And and hearing people's response to her, that what they saw from her on the show was hurtful. And because I was there and I saw, like, okay, well, we're going to get something out of you, right? We're going to get something for television. So either you're going to give us what we want, or we're going to create something. And so I don't know if you remember, but she had this list and it started trending everywhere, because everybody was like, oh my God, Chili has this list and nobody wants to pay attention to, she's not listening to anything. She's on this list. And it was like articles and headlines. And it really was the fact that she wasn't open to doing some of the other things. So they focused on the list, So I was like, I would never do that. Plus, I'm not a person that would want to share that. Like, I don't want to share that.
Well, and then too, because we live, and I know we got to go. We live in such a time now that when you do, even with something like this, somebody could easily go and look up your information, look up my information. Well, Crystal said this, or Ray did this, and it's
Yeah.
like, how many years ago was that? Or are you getting the full story? So we have to be careful, even as viewers, to not go digging up people's information. And it's
Yeah.
just like I said, I thought Shay and old boy were together, and you're saying no, that was for something else. You see how stuff gets started.
Mhm.
So I think you have to, and on the flip side to that, it is, are you ready for that type of scrutiny? Are you ready for that type of people being that much in your life and your career and your social media, and something that you may say, something you may not say? She may be having a bad day. Oh,
Mhm.
so-and-so's a bitch. No, she was having a bad day and people are entitled to that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult, but I think there are some personalities that really enjoy it. I did tell you, so I did, and we'll talk about this another time. I did go on Iyanla to talk about the fact that I was single and have dealt with issues dating myself. And I just felt like myself, Miss Shanika, who's a good friend of mine, Aaron Ray and Tracy Steele, we all, went on as these career women in Atlanta that, there's this whole idea that, the career woman, you're never going to find a man because you're focused on your career only. And to an extent, there are issues that are synonymous with that narrative. So we'll talk about that. We'll definitely have to talk about that.
Yeah, I text you when I saw I was like, oh really now? We're we're on Iyanla. Okay. I didn't see that coming. So yeah, I'll have to come back and I'll need to interview you, talk to you about that.
Well, I thank you for hanging out. This has been great. It was like, this is great conversation. And I actually shared this. We just got this lined up. So we shared it. Next time we'll have to share it earlier so more people will know, but we'll chop this up and share some of these tidbits from tonight. Definitely keep watching and we will circle back in a couple of weeks and have you back for another recap because this has been very enjoyable and maybe throw somebody else in the mix. I have a former cast member of Ready to Love that's going to come on. So it's great to have the male and female perspective going back. So I'll definitely invite you back and we'll do that.
Please do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This was enjoyable.
Be good, Crystal. Thank you so much. All right. Have a good one. All right.
Thank you guys for tuning in, hanging out with me here. Late night, Friday night here on Rolling Out Reality Check, recapping Ready to Love. You guys make sure you keep watching and we're going to keep talking every Friday night after the show. We're going to do a recap right here on Rolling Out, right here on YouTube. So make sure that you tune in and share in the comments. Thank you, Lola, for being such a great viewer tonight and sharing your thoughts on tonight's conversation. You can share this video so that other people can hear it and you guys can get more feedback. And other than that, I'm going to be back on Monday with Troy. So make sure you tune in Monday, 8 o'clock right here on Rolling Out. We're going to have Troy here. We're going to talk about what happened with the kissing, what happened with all the vacationing. We're going to talk to Troy about it. So I will see you right back here Monday, 8 o'clock right here on Rolling Out. You guys enjoy your weekend.